Welcome, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and call this City Council workshop of November 17th on housing to order. If you could, please stand for the pledge and invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Lord Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day in Lake City. Lord, please give the wisdom to those of us here on this dais and those who would speak from the audience to make great decisions for our community. In your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Jernigan?
Present.
Councilmember Harris?
Present.
Councilmember Young?
Here.
Councilmember Carter?
Present.
Mayor Walker?
Present.
City Manager Rosenthal?
Here.
City Attorney Martin?
Here.
Chief Butler?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting. Since 1968, the City Code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the City Council, and that is to be recognized and then speak from the podium. Failure to abide by the rules of decorum will result in removal from the meeting. All right. We do have public participation at the end of the meeting, so we will make sure that we leave enough room to include that. But tonight, we have a workshop on housing. We had a presentation, well put together presentation that was presented at our last meeting. It sparked a lot of conversation during the meeting and ultimately resulted in a call for this workshop being moved up from December 1st to tonight. So we have a lot of public comment coming in, so we'll make sure that we leave room for that. But the way that I wanted to kick this off was to present statistics on our housing market, Mr. Rosenthal, and things that the city is currently doing in housing. So Mr. Rosenthal or Mr. Scott, you guys want to kick us off?
Scott's going to come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, we have numerous projects in planning or in progress. Hunters Creek, which I just spoke with a contractor today, the utilities, they're going to start running the infrastructure. They put a bit on it. That's 335 units. Bascom Norris subdivision, first phase is 125 units. Those are all single-family homes. Muffins Cove, 16 units. Bailey's Cove, 4 units. Bailey's Cove second phase is another 4 units. Sugar Mill Apartments, it's 48 units. Sweetwater Apartments, which is under construction now, 120 units. Legends of Lake City, that's 225 units. And Melrose Platte, that's 16 units. In addition, in our CRA district, the city owns 6 properties that CRA is looking to either rehabilitate or redevelop. And there's other properties as well throughout the city.
Thank you, Scott. Mayor, we also want to talk about what the county is doing. Jennifer Daniels is nice enough to provide us a list of those too. So in the county, Bascom Norris, Marvin, Burnett, 380 single-family units. Bascom Norris, Sister Welcome, 100-plus family or combo of single-family and multifamily. Turney Avenue, 14 duplexes, 28 doors. State Road 47, 25 duplexes, 50 doors. And Preserves, Deer Creek, 10 mobile home lots. That's in the county.
Thank you, Ms. Rosenthal. Did Jennifer provide any vacancy statistics?
No, she did not. She just provided what was coming or what was in the works or what was already underway.
All right, very good. Do you want to give a brief overview of these things that the city's doing in terms of housing?
Sure, we can. Number one is intergovernmental coordination and boundary planning. The team members have actively engaged with legal department as they work towards developing an interlocal service boundary agreement for the Cornerstone planning area on 47. Then there's a land development regulation that's under review by Scott and his department right now. They're looking at administrative approval process amendments, mixed use, text amendments, single-family zoning districts to allow sizes down to 4,000 square feet. And hopefully, Mayor, we're gonna get even smaller than that to be more dense. Text amendments for single-family zoning districts to allow duplexes to be built on a single residence type lot. Text amendment to allow all residential zoning the ability to have accessory dwelling units or tiny homes. And text amendment for multifamily zoning districts to allow for up to 40 dwelling units per acre. And a text amendment creating verbiage to allow cottage communities. We're also, Scott's also looking at some internal process improvements to make the process more streamlined. And he's also engaging with developers and stakeholders to make development itself more quickly accessible to everybody involved. And he's looking at a major housing company, a major franchise restaurant is being proposed by a private entity within the city. Also, a community redevelopment program efforts in our CRA. The team is working on a way to help people in the CRA to develop existing land. Also, we're evaluating our housing development opportunities overall.
Which brings us to here.
Yes.
Thank you. So during our last meeting, there was a lot of discussion, and really, there was the elephant in the room was that we have no clear goal on what we want, how we want to be involved in housing as a city, which is why we're having this meeting tonight. So I will go ahead and open up the floor to council. And Mr. Carter, you have something?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, staff, for presenting that information. So I've given a lot of thought to this since the last meeting and talked to staff on a handful of occasions about some of the stuff that was just discussed. There are some things that have been being in the works for a while that are, I think, soon to come to fruition. Many of them were just listed. Working on developing mixed-use areas. I talked with Growth Management today, looking like maybe as soon as middle of next year, we may be able to see some language changed for allowing for accessory dwelling units. I know of a handful of people that are waiting on that language to change right now before they build. And I know we're looking at, and Mr. Angelo told me he's doing some research now on the idea of reducing the minimum lot sizes. They're currently at 6,000. The suggestion is maybe bringing it down to 4. I think you could even take that down to 0. There have been areas that have had a lot of success in enticing development by lowering that minimum size quite a bit. Also, as was listed here, at the moment we have well over 1,000 units being built in the community that are on the road and coming right now. So I think that we all kind of have this feeling in our gut that there's something wrong and there's issues in housing and that there are gaps and holes that need filling. But for me, before we take a leap in one direction or another, or hire anybody for anything, it is my recommendation that we go out to bid and get a housing study done. If we do any of these decisions and try to enter into kind of public-private partnerships with anyone for anything, we're going to have to be able to substantially prove that it is in the public good to do that. I think the housing study would give us the information necessary to establish whether or not it is, and if it is, in which way it is. So it is my suggestion that we begin this process by asking for some proposals and getting a study done. I know there's quite a few great firms in the state that probably would be happy to send something in for us. So that's where I think we ought to start.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Anybody else want to shoot at their goal? Yeah, Mr. Jernigan.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it as well. It's like this. We give the staff a task. Hey, let's get something that we can come up with for housing. We give them that task, and I don't know how many people that they talk to, how many contractors, how many bidders. I can't answer that question. But we finally get somebody in and come up with a some kind of structure, organized, trying to get us in the right direction. And you know, like we take 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards. So I just want to see what the staff has planned, the staff has come up with, and if it fits the criteria that we're looking for to get that proposal out there, and we have a attorney here that's going to make sure that all the check boxes are checked, and we should come up with an orchestrated plan for the housing market. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. I would state my goal for the city's involvement in housing is to make our cities blight-free and have housing available at an affordable rate for those that need it in town. I too believe in a consultant, probably on multiple levels, right? Because I'm not a developer. We haven't had. I don't think that anybody's a developer on the board, but having a consultant to do pre-development and designs as was presented, but also to make sure that we're in compliance with our own actions. Earlier this year, we opted out of the Live Local Act, which follows a fact that, you know, it's a statement of the city saying that we don't have a housing issue. Well, clearly we have a housing issue, and we probably need to reevaluate our opt out of that act, and to see how we're interacting with other things at the state level. But again, to go back to having a consultant to do something like pre-development and create markets for local developers to buy lots from the city or from other individuals, and then develop those with pre-planned and pre-designed plans, as Scott was talking about. I think that is a worthy goal, but we just haven't had a good starting point. We haven't had a good jumping off point, and we've been kind of aimless and directionless and talking in, I think, 3 or 4 different directions, if that makes sense. Anybody else?
Mayor,
Mr. Jernigan?
yes, no, you're absolutely correct. I don't think there's anybody up here that's a developer. That's when you have the staff to give them that task. For example, you give the city manager that task and say, hey, this is what we need, this is how we're gonna get it done, which way you guys wanna go. So it's not up to us to find those developers. It's up to your administration. And again, this is all an opinion. You give them a task, and they follow through with that. They get the best. I want to say the best for the buck, best bang for your money, or whatever. In some occasions, and other occasions, we spend a little bit too much. So again, we're not developers and contractors. However, I think that given the task to the staff, that we to put in those positions, I think is their duties and responsibilities to make sure we get that done.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Mr. Carter, you had something?
Yeah, I would say I generally agree with your stated goals. I do want to point out, I think, when it comes to the Live Local Act specifically, I don't know that opting out of it necessarily says that we don't have a housing issue. I think the Live Local, and a lot of communities opted out because I think the Live Local Act reached a little too far, and it took too much power out of the hands of the local government as far as how we zone and we regulate our spaces. So I don't think it necessarily is stating that we don't have a problem. I think, and there's a lot of people even at the state level who think that entire thing was written maybe a little bit wonky. So I think I don't know that I necessarily support opting back into that, at least not at this point, the way it is currently written.
I agree. What I meant by that, let me clarify, is the Live Local Act, the only reason we were able to opt out of it is that we are in a county that is identified as not having I believe it's called critical housing issues through a study that's done at UF. So whenever that study came out, only the communities and counties that were within that study were able to opt out of it.
And Mr. Mayor, I would say that looking at what we've got coming down the pipe from the city's standpoint and what we have currently in development, I'm not necessarily sure that we are in a crisis state. But again, I think that's why a study would be, it would behoove us to get a really good professional layout of the entire landscape. And we might be in a shortage in a place that we don't think we are. We might need more or less here or there. That's, if we're going to get focused on a specific thing, I think that's where we start.
I think on paper, in the pipeline, we're not in a crisis state, but I think that there are a lot of affordable issues and families that are struggling
Sure.
to find houses for different reasons. Yes, sir.
I totally agree with you. The difference, I don't think that we are in a housing crisis. And I think when you talk about affordable housing, when I know I'm a lot older than everybody up here, but when we were coming up, affordable housing, USDA or something to that effect, I think we was paying like $300, maybe $400 a month. Some people was paying less than that. And that's what I call affordable. When you talk about $1,800 a month for rent, I don't know where you're going to get that from. That's not affordable, not to me. Especially for first-time buyers. When we get out there and we try to get that first house, that first apartment, that first duplex. If you can find somebody around here that's paying $500 or $600 a month for rent, you're going to be doing really good. But they're in the thousands of dollars to when you talk about affordable housing. So I don't think we have a housing shortage. I think the amount of rent that you have to pay, or the amount of property that you have to pay for a house, that's what the problem is, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Young.
Okay, there's no question of whether it's a housing shortage or whether it's a housing crisis. You name it what you want to. There's an issue here when it comes to housing in Lake City, which we are talking about. But Mayor, when you say starting point, clarify to me, starting point.
Starting point in terms of housing. So, for me, having a goal defines the path, right? We don't have we've talked about several different things. We've had everything from a housing authority to where we're going to build and own and buy land and do all of this, discussed at city meetings. We had a presentation last week of a partnership to pre-develop land that we would buy, I believe. So there's a lot of we don't have a defined starting point. There's a lot of different options. But I think the reason we have all these different options and no solid starting point is because we haven't defined a goal and a role that we want to be in as the city in housing.
What is your idea of coming up with a goal? What does that look like?
For us to that's what this meeting is about, is for us to state goals and then come to a consensus so that staff can execute on a cohesive idea, so that they're not going out and procuring ideas or procuring movement on something that comes back and bounces off the board. Does that make sense?
So before we leave here tonight, your expectations are we will have a goal set.
My expectations, that would be, I think, ideal, but I don't think that that's realistic. So
It's not. So I'm not quite finished yet. So we've been on this housing issue, housing crisis, housing problem for some time now. I haven't seen anyone come up who want to invest in the city. And we have someone to come who are willing to invest in the city, not the city invest in them, invest in the city. And we come up with excuses as to why we are not here yet. If we keep doing the same thing, we're gonna keep getting the same results. So you're right, we do have to have a starting point. But I wanna ask the city manager, being that he has been working on this, so what is your view of us starting? And where would you like to see us start?
Well, I like to say that I think the problem is so large that we don't have to start at just one starting point. I think we can start at multiple starting points. Well, I would like to get some direction on existing lots owned by the city. I'd like to get some direction on the presentation that we had the other night. You know, what guidance does this board have for staff on that? I would like to get some guidance on what do you want us to do about the property that code enforcement gathers from things not being in good shape and code acquiring those properties. So there's a great many things, and because there's a great many things, I think more than one process can go on at the same time. Because the problem is so big, we can attack that problem from multiple angles.
I think we had that conversation, Mr. Rosenthal, and respectfully, I'll say it again. You can do too much at one time that you lose your focus.
That's true.
We're gonna have to, and this, what we was talking about, all these different type ways of coming up with housing. And I asked that we narrow it down and starting point. Start with one way of building in our housing. And that's when Ms. Leslie was introduced. So you're suggesting that, and everybody said they like the proposal that Leslie Precepts bring to us. No one has says they don't like it and it's outstanding, it is. But you're saying we start with Ms. Leslie and then have a whole lot of other housing projects going along at the same time. Do you think we're that great?
Well, it's not a matter of being great. I mean, it's a matter of having people like Ms. Leslie would be could work her project. We would go with other developers, other people that build houses in town. They could be building their houses on lots that the city owns, and we could do that all at the same time. I mean, I think the problem is so large that it wouldn't be a mistake to hit it from several different angles at the same time.
I believe, if I understood it correctly, and you all please correct me if I misspeak on this. The project that, and I call it Leslie Precepts, Ms. Leslie bring to us, it will bring in our local builders and developers. Am I correct?
You're correct.
So you'll have them working on Ms. Leslie, in Ms. Leslie's project, and also in other little bitty projects, other projects along.
Along with local builders that are here too.
She's working with local builders.
No, I'm saying that her project is one project. She'll be working with developers, but the city should be working with other developers, other builders too. We have local builders in town that build buildings
Right.
too. So I'm saying we could do that all at once.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Mr. Carter, you had some thoughts?
Yes. First off, I would just like to point out, well, I don't think it's fair to say that no one's investing. There's probably 5 or 6 people in the crowd right now who I know have invested many millions of dollars in the community. So for starters, we've got investment going on. I think our concern, it seems to me, is with specific areas and how to get them somewhere else, right? So that's obviously one of the starting points. But I think, I really, none of us are experts in this at all. We're representing the people, and we're supposed to listen to experts. I'm suggesting that we hire an expert. We hire a firm to help us figure out where the hot spots are and help us gain focus. Then we can aim at something. And I agree with Ms. Young. I don't think we aim at 13 things at once. I think we hire a firm, we get a study, we figure out where our hot spots are, we pick one, whichever one is probably the biggest or the most achievable, and we attack that one. And when we succeed there, we figure out a way to attack the next one. So it's my opinion that the starting point is the study. And I think that that's something we can approve tonight in the regular scheduled meeting, we can have staff put out an RFP and we get some study proposals back and we pick one. And I think that's, I can't think of a better way to start this in earnest.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Ms. Young.
I think Councilman Carter has just described precepts.
Mr. Carter.
Precepts is a company. Also, what we were presented with at the last meeting, while interesting, was not a proposal, it was a concept. My concerns are still there with that specific business in that they have not done this before. I think that's a perfectly valid concern. It doesn't discount them as a person who's allowed to put in a proposal. Like, when we get to the point where we want to perhaps hire somebody, I suggest that they do put in a proposal. They seem like they got a good team and will probably put together a great proposal. But when that time comes, I think we put out an RFP and we get proposals from multiple people. I think that while you may be able to read the laws in such a way that define that as a public-private partnership, and I have read them, and I do see how that could be construed that way. It's certainly not a public-private partnership in the traditional sense, in which all the parties involved have significant skin in the game. So, and it's not that, and that's, I think, what the average citizen wants to see if we're going to enter into some sort of agreement with any organization. I think we have an RFP and we let the process play out fairly for everyone. I think that they did put together a nice concept. The thing that they showed us at the last meeting, I'd love to see in our community. But again, it wasn't a proposal, it was a concept. And I'd like to see a lot of concepts and proposals. But I also want to tell people what we want concepts or proposals for. The study will help us identify what to ask for, what to ask precepts for, what to ask anyone else for. So the study is the only thing that makes logical sense as a starting point. If we don't start there, we're just flipping a coin. We're picking a thing. We're rolling the dice. It doesn't really make any sense because, again, none of us, or quite frankly, anyone on staff, is an expert in this field. That's why these firms exist, and they're hired by governments all the time for this exact reason. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to public comment for a little bit because we do have a significant number signed up, so I want to make sure that we get through everybody before the end of the workshop. So as I call your name, just come on up. Mr. Sampson.
Okay, I really disappointed in the concept that there's people here that's not investing in the city. Not original content I wanted to mention, but I've taken 20 blighted units in the last 18 months. I have all but 9 done. They're in your district. They're in your district, your district, your district, every district here. And you are shafting us with the taxes. That's okay. But then you want to talk about how we're not investing. How about you invest, like Mr. Rosenthal mentioned earlier? Finish the stuff we start. Finish getting tiny homes on the docket. Finish letting us build on lots that were platted 50 years ago that's too small to build on, which we've been working with the city for at least 2 years on. So finish that. That's why we hired an attorney to finish it, right? And it's not done. Okay, now my statement about the precept acquisitions proposal. I've seen bullshit and then there's bullshit, and here it is. I have several concerns of how we arrived at this point. I don't even know why this was scheduled, but I want to focus on the issues most relevant to the item you were talking about today. Lack of qualification and background information. The so-called proposal from Precept Acquisitions contains no resumes, no professional qualifications, no evidence of principal's ability to perform. As a city, do we routinely consider proposals without conducting a background review, requiring documentation or experience? This is not consistent with best practices for municipal procurement, risk management, or stewardship of our taxpayer dollars. Number 2, limited track record of the applicant. The company was formed in 2023 based on all available public information. They have one project they're trying to do. But if you look at the Baker County records and public meetings, it's still in traffic mitigation and entitlement negotiation. They're targeting 2030 if it goes forward. I wouldn't consider it active or viable. And despite this, the packet before you today contains no information describing the principal's qualifications, experience, prior developments, successful completions. 3, lack of evidence of development experience. Public research reveals no documented history of large-scale development by the principals. The most verifiable background appears to be that the Buckholz family previously operated a trucking company, and Miss Buckholz may have worked as a tax accountant. They appear to own approximately 8.5 acres in Baker County that may be tied up to the Nehemiah project. But beyond that, there's no publicly available evidence of any successful residential development. And we're willing to just write a check? No, no, no.
Okay, Mr. Sampson. Wait, gotta get, there's a long list.
Okay, we'll be back in the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. All right, Ms. Chadwick.
Thank you for giving me the time to speak. I was very concerned about the presentation that Ms. Leslie gave last week when she made it clear that she has a very good team of engineers and architects in Jacksonville. No offense to y'all, I don't think the city has any business getting into land development. You don't have any experience with it. You should leave it up to the people that do. What she is proposing to do is something that you have talent in this room that live in this community. You have people that have worked extensively with land development. You have all of us engineers, and that's what we do. You give us a piece of property, we give you back a subdivision. You have surveyors, you have geotechnical people, but most importantly, I would urge you, extend your utility systems to more property so it can be developed at a reasonable cost. Because I get calls all the time from developers. They don't have utilities to get to that property, so they can't develop it. Or figure out what your capacity is and increase that. But other than that, I would urge you, keep everything local. You have an amazing, talented group of professionals right here. Don't send work out of town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chadwick. Ms. Stevens? Okay. All right. Mr. Warren?
I used to think that having you guys vote to remove me from the city council meeting as a local activist and one who has spent millions of dollars in his own community was disrespectful. I used to think that. Until you all started entertaining a proposal about 2 weeks ago that Ms. Young went over to Baker County and called a cousin of hers and got Ms. Leslie, who's from Baker County. Yeah, you know me. I'm going to call my private investigator. I'm going to do the work. I got all the phone call, got all the records, know who she spoke to. And this person is personally tapped. So that's a fact. And if you don't believe me, call Macy Ruiz. So beyond that, here's what I find. I find it to be a spit in the face of local developers, local suppliers, local engineers, local surveyors, and local taxpayers in general. Anytime you start telling us local developers who have made the pot of money for y'all to use in such a way that y'all are now going to take that pot of money that we develop and y'all going to take it and give it to someone else outside of our community, which you all have already admitted y'all have no experience. So why have y'all not come and had town hall meetings with local developers? And as far as tapping someone to give you a study, I think the study is already done, Mr. Carter. If you come into the north side of the community, and even the redevelopment consultant already agreed that it is the north side of the railroad track that is the most blighted and underserved and have the least amount of houses. And if you have an affordability issue, it's in the dark skinned community. That is where it's at. I mean, we are all from Lake City. Let's just cut the bullshit. This ain't no Miami. We all can walk around and know where the blight is at. We know where the crime is at, and we know where the houses need to be. We're just fooling each other and wasting money when we can all have a conversation about where the hot spots are at. We can do that. We don't need no firm. We just need to learn how to work together. And what the council needs to do is come talk to the developers and the citizens and not become dictators as to how you use taxpayer dollars. You come talk to the taxpayers. We're open to have a conversation with you and tell you what you need. And the idea of saying that somehow y'all gonna find land for someone and have people to sell it. People in my community, in which I own a large portion of this, I'm not selling my property. So what you gonna do? Come eminent domain it, and then we're gonna have a Wyoming situation like the ranchers? Because I ain't coming off mine. And so also, there's a misquote from the building department. I have 10 lots in Bailey Cove, 16 in Muffins Cove, and I just had my grandmother property reassessed for 80 units. So that means I'm over 100 plus units by myself in the city in District 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Mr. Williams.
Thanks for being concerned about housing and having this discussion tonight. I'm going to pass these out. Tammy, I think, already has a copy.
Whenever you get back, make sure you speak into the microphone.
My business partner, Dylan Adams, met, I believe, with Ms. Harrison, the city manager. I just wanted to echo some of what you've already heard and suggest that a P3 partnership, in my experience, is not what is being proposed by the proposer. There are ways to get the studies done that you want. You have a plethora of local, invested, qualified professionals ready, willing, and able to do that work. An RFP is definitely the right way to go. Please choose that. That will give you guys the best service, best opportunity, and the taxpayers the lowest cost. That's about it. I've provided some information about us and what we do. I would remind the council that you have, in fact, seen Dylan and I before talking to you about housing with what would qualify, in my opinion, as a P3 proposal to swap land that was listed as surplus. And we offered a swap for that so that we could develop 600 houses. Our client was willing to invest in the infrastructure and pay for 100% of that cost. So let's not forget that that happened. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Stevens, did you want to speak?
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Kalina Stevens. I'm a victim of the 12 units that caught a fire on August the 27th. I just wanted to let everybody know that the update on everybody, we're still without a place to stay. We're still going through what we're going through. Right now, it's a pause on the units that we supposed to go, well, we supposed to be going to Tallahassee. So there's a pause on that unit, the units that's down there, which a lot of us didn't want to go to Tallahassee, but by us not having nowhere else to go besides the other units out of town, we're stuck. And I just don't want us to be forgotten.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Mr. Dylan Adams.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you would, Mayor Rosenthal, I saw Ms. Young passed you the packet. Could you refer to the back page of the packets? Ms. Harris, you did receive it via email, so I don't know if you did get a copy. Mr. Warren referred to the blighted areas, right, being of a certain cultural background. I know Blight. I grew up in the Orlando market after moving there during my adolescence. Lived in some pretty blighted areas while I was making my way as a young adolescent. I'm from Lake City. I can tell you two things. There's never been a lot of really good housing on the other side of the tracks, white, black, or indifferent. You go to 5 Points, it's a wore-out trailer. You go to the tracks, it's a wore-out shotgun house. We tore down one that belongs to a client of mine to try to comply with code enforcement and to do the right things, right? So Desmond Dunn is an advisor that Tim Milliams and I work with through the Haymar Group. Desmond has done a revitalization and turnover of downtown Raleigh. Downtown Raleigh was extremely blighted, had crime statistics off the board, had a main bus line going through it. I had a video for Mr. Desmond to introduce himself, but I guess we have a new IT policy where we can't introduce jump drives. Desmond was going to do a welcome video. He's traveling in Pennsylvania currently on another project. From a cultural background perspective, if that's the concern, we work with advisors of all kinds, all creeds, all colors, all races. What we would like to do is we would like to ensure that the taxpayers' money is spent appropriately. We want to make sure that things go out to a referral referendum process where you go in and do a formal request for a proposal, right? When you're spending $250,000, right? All these people didn't show up in suit jackets for free, okay? I'm wearing a polo shirt and a pair of jeans because I live here, okay? My father taught me two things. You put on starch and a suit for the money, okay? If we're trying to build houses, my partner has built 8,000 to 10,000 homes throughout the U.S., okay, it's on paper right there. There are Google links where you can look at the houses and drive to them. In Baker County, we're working on 200 to 300 units where we have already reserved the water capacity, which costs millions of dollars, through the city of McClenny. Okay, we have provable track record. I'm not here to apply for a job. I even gave you a guy like Desmond where you can call him directly, and he's dealt with small municipalities that don't have any money that are trying to do certain things to fix blighted areas, right? Desmond works with us. Desmond's a great guy. What we would ask is that you put this out to RFP and do the appropriate process, because if you look at the legislature, which your procurement director, I believe that's her position, I spoke with the growth management director this morning and provided a copy of that legislature and highlighted the attributes for a P3. Several of them were wastewater treatment, public facilities, things of that nature. So I would just urge you to put it out to an RFP.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Ms. George?
All right, I'm just gonna go ahead with it because I know I don't have much time. Basically, what they were proposing is the same thing the city do. As a developer, we have to do everything from planning to permitting anyway. So I don't see what the benefit of hiring this third-party company. If you're gonna throw my money away, because I'm one of the biggest contributors in the CRA, because I own the most property besides Ms. Carter, if you're gonna throw my money away, throw it to growth management, throw it to the employees, because the stuff that they're doing is what growth management do. We got 8 houses between Terrence and I and Sylvester that we just built. I just sold one in your district off of McFarland and whatever that is, Grandview. We got five over here on the northeast of town. Terrence got 2 over here on the west side, trying to bring that area up. So I'm a little offended also about someone saying we never brung proposals. I've came here twice, and I came here and did the proposal 2 different ways. The first time I asked for the property from the city to build out of my own pocket. The second time I said, okay, well, guess what? If the city wants to contribute to affordable housing and affordable rent, they can buy down the rent by contributing, and I'll match my dollars and I will build them on my property, and then we will keep the rent under the HUD income levels, because this is the proposal that I submitted to the city. I also gave Ms. Harris one when she got in office. I don't think you 2 gentlemen got this, so I emailed it to you. It's just not in the folder. Yes, you have this. I'll pull the email up, but anyway, with the numbers, this got numbers in it. This is just the page. So when y'all talk about your goals, your goals, the first thing to determine if you want to do affordable rentals, or you want to be landlords, or you want to be, real estate developers. Because it sounds like y'all want to be real estate developers, that y'all want to build and go into, now you like, okay, who gonna get the property? Who gonna sell the property? Who gonna build it? Who gonna pay for it? Who gonna maintain the property? Lights, water, y'all gonna have growth management cutting the property until it sell. And I'm gonna tell you, as a real estate broker, I've been sitting on property, and you seen that property in your district, and that's a good district, for a year, because everything is high. I just sold a house over there by Memorial Stadium for $185, and its mortgage is $1,500. The house was built in 1960. So if you're gonna do affordable, a housing, you can't. I keep talking about a return. Then I have new houses under $300,000, and they're still sitting because your average mortgage is between $1,800, as you were saying, and $2,300. And this is under 300,000 at the cap being 285. So if you want to provide affordable housing, you need to give money towards buying the rental payments down. So if you gave a certain dollar amount, you keep the rent at 20,000, excuse me.
Thank you, Ms. George. Ms. Buckholz.
So I just really wanted to say I'm very sensitive to the comments from the public and from the constituents and from folks that live here. I really am sensitive to the idea of coming in from the outside. My whole goal really isn't necessarily about coming in from the outside, but having a heart for making housing affordable and making sure that there is a clear model for the opportunity for us to design what it is that the city is attempting to design, and then being able to present a clear plan of action to get to that end goal. But what I wanted to also address, and I appreciate also having the opportunity to kind of correct some of the misunderstandings about our experience. I appreciate the gentleman who did a little bit of investigation on where I've come from and what my experience is. What I want to say is, although Precept is young, that's not a new concept. Businesses, they don't start off with 30 years to 40 years in business. You know, you start with day one. But what you do is you put together a good team. And when you put together a good team, you bring in folks that, folks who have had different varying levels of experience. And so on our leadership team, we have folks who have been, again, engineers, who've been architects, who have been planners. We bring in those individual experiences, and collectively, we each meet a need. So for me, I've got about 30 years of project management, process design, consulting experience. Other members of our team, again, like I said, are architects, engineers. And we've brought all of those projects and experiences that we've brought in, that we've been able to generate over this time frame under the Precept umbrella. So some of those projects that have been completed have been the Downtown Jacksonville Redevelopment Plan, the Palencia Master Plan Community in St. Johns County. Nehemiah's Court, as the gentleman discussed, is still in progress, but that's in Baker County. Sawgrass Village, Ponte Vedra Beach, Birchwine at Daytona Beach, Waterway Gulf Shores, a 326-acre project, San Sebastian Inland Harbor, St. Augustine, Coastal Regional Planning in Georgia, many, many others. Some of our clients that we have served by the experienced members of our team: Ascension Health, University of Florida, TCO, General Electric, Microsoft, International, HKS, Humphreys and Partners Architects, and I can go on and on. ICI Homes, Mattamy Homes, JEA, Toll Brothers, City of Jacksonville, Davis Family, Deutsche Bank. So we do have experience. So while Precepts itself is young, none of us are very young. And we bring the background, we bring the experience from all of those groups to the table. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Buckholz. All right. We have 10 minutes before our regular session. Does anybody have any final thoughts on the dais? We don't have any more public comment. Ms. Young?
I would like to say one thing that was spoken that was taken totally out of context, but that's what happened when you hear just what you want to hear and not what was said. When I said there, no one has brought to us a proposal where you were investing in the city since we've been talking about this housing issue and what we're going to do, and that you're not investing in the city. I didn't mean you didn't have houses where you paying taxes and all that. That's totally out of context, but you know what I said.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
Thank you.
Any further thoughts? All right, I'm going to gavel us out. We'll be back at 6.
My mind made up.